recording.
Yep.
All right. So, Jackie, you have been doing some incredible things with One Giant Leap Australia, and it is evident through your passion, your heart, and everything that you've put into this initiative, just how successful we can be when we truly put our minds to something and see the possibilities that exist before us. And that's really the ethos of One Space. And so I'd love to hear from you in your own words. What about the one space ethos and philosophy really captured your heart, and why do you believe that this is the way forward for everybody in space?
I just believe that um, we have the global space community, but I think there are people in it that really have the same philosophy around it's not us, it's a community. And we need to have a legacy and we need to be able to move it forward. And the only way to do that is by working together. And and also having that belief in young people and knowing that it's a bit like I don't know in the Apollo times when they said it took 400,000 people to put man on the moon,
Yeah,
right? On your shoulders we stand, right? So we have to be those people. We have to open our networks up to young people. So by collaborating together and building that network, we then broaden the network for our young people, and we can help them be successful in whatever it is that they want to be by having them in our network. So having a massively diverse network that's inclusive, diverse, all of those things. To me, they're not just words; they're actual. It's my actual belief system, um, and so working together, I believe that globally we can really make a massive difference just by collaborating. That's all it will take, and then the rest will come. You know, so that's
absolutely.
how I see it.
Oh, amazing. I couldn't have said it better. Working together and then the rest will come. Yeah, I think that's really a good reminder because we get so what I've always loved about space is how the borders and the politics have typically historically not been a part of the conversation. And it's like, how do we innovate together? How do we further science? How do we do these things as humans, as humanity? And the more of that we can have, truly believe the more talent we can cultivate and the more ideas we can bring to life.
And I think there was a Saudi astronaut or an astronaut from that part of the world who said he looked down on the earth and there was no borders,
Yeah.
and it can't be. Like you talk to people who have viewed Earth from space, and it's our home. There isn't planet B. We don't have that. So, the slogan of the space station, off Earth, for Earth, is lost on people.
Yeah,
And we have to be those people to remind them that the things going on the space station better humanity.
absolutely.
300 experiments a day being done, cancer research, blood work, like crystals being grown. That's not just, this is people's proper research in microgravity. And I think people don't even, have never ever been taught that. And I think people don't even recognize it. They just think it's huge amounts of money being thrown at something that's not relevant to them. And they don't get that it's totally relevant to our lives and what we do is life changing, not just and it's not just the rich people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's there are people who are so proud to be part of the space industry, and they could just be someone who is the cleaner in mission control or a toilet training person for astronauts, or you know what I mean? And everyone's proud to be part of it. But I think the pride has to be in that everyone working together, everyone's working towards a common thing.
Mm.
And our common thing has to be Earth. We have to look at it and go, this is our home. We should be all holding hands and celebrate that we live in such an amazing place. and how can we look after it? Because it's all we have. If we go to if we go to space and look back at the Earth and the overview effect, imagine if we could do that to lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
Imagine the difference it would make, right? I remember reading Jacques Cousteau wrote, if we use one tenth of what we spend on war and armaments around the world to take people to the oceans, we would have
Mm.
global world peace. Maybe we need to look at the same thing for space. If we could actually get lots and lots of people just to view the Earth from space, maybe we would end up with global peace because they would look at it and go, how fragile is this place? This is all we have. So, I see I see probably things a bit differently in that I want people to understand this is what we have and we're all in it together, and it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter. We all need to look after it for everybody. So we have that stewardship
Mm. I love
of
that word.
around it, you know.
Yeah.
And so how do we do that with kids who aren't sporty, who aren't into dance, who aren't into art, which is a lot of the funding goes into these things? What about the kids who have these other dreams? How do we support them? Because I feel like we're losing them.
Yeah.
We're losing them because they think they don't belong. So we gotta pull the tribe together. You
Yes.
know,
And that's what One
we call
Space
them the nerd herd. The kids
The
call
nerd
themselves
herd.
the nerd
Yes.
herd. Okay, so how do we get the nerd herd together? Because when I was growing up, being called a nerd, you didn't want to be called a nerd. These days, it's cool to be a nerd. Um,
Absolutely.
and the kids actually called themselves the nerd herd. Um,
I might have
in
to
a,
steal
a
that. You can tell the kids that I'm gonna steal that with my
it,
friends.
it was funny. We were at breakfast and in one of our camps, and the boys thought that I had a spy in their cabin, and they were trying to work out who it was, and I didn't. I had one guy pretend he was a spy, but he wasn't, and then the kids were blaming this kid who wasn't the spy, and he was upset because they were labeling him as the spy. So this
Oh,
whole thing was going on. It was so funny, like it was hilarious, and
that
they were
is
all laughing and everything. And
yeah.
so said, "I'll give you a clue," and I've gone, "It's a boy." Like they're in a boy's cabin, right? And
Yeah,
they're going,
yeah,
"No,
yeah.
that's not a clue." And then I've gone, "Okay, I'll give you another clue." Yes, and they're like holding their breath, and I went, "He has a vowel in his name, right?" Then they've gone, "No, that's not fair." I said, "I'll give you one last clue. He's got a consonant." And the kid's gone, "What's a consonant?" And all the kids went, "You're in the nerd herd and you don't know what a consonant is? Go away." It
That's
was so
funny.
funny. So that all kind of how that all came about. And they're proud to be the nerd herd. So how do we get the nerd herd together?
Absolutely.
How? Right? By working together. You're part of the nerd herd. If you want to be part of it, put your hand up. But if you
Absolutely.
don't, that's okay. You can do your thing over there. But if you want to be part of the tribe, part of the nerd herd, work with us.
Yeah,
Everyone work together, and then our legacy will be the nerd herd,
I love
you
that.
know?
All right, hashtag nerd herd. You heard it here first. This is gonna be a new thing. I can already see it now. I'm gonna run with it for sure.
Yeah, I think we need
Um,
shirts or something. Buy this shirt, donate here, something,
you know what? Idea. You get a shirt with
Yeah,
the nerd herd, and on the back is the QR code for donation. That's what we can
that's
do.
a cool idea. I wonder
Yeah,
if someone got the trademark of nerd herd. I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know. We'll have to do some digging. But in any case, we're all one space, we're all
brilliant
one
idea.
community, we're all in it together. And that's the ethos and I love it. And there is an experience. It was in Houston for a while. It's supposed to travel around, but I think as our technology improves, so we can make it more accessible for people everywhere. But it was a VR headset experience where they have this big warehouse. It's called the Infinite. And you put this on, you get a
I've
briefing.
heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
and I have to say, like I knew I had a headset on. And there's like this, white light beam thing that you got to walk through. but through there is space. And so on the ground you see stars and just like nothingness and my brain, like I had to take my foot and kind of like, yep, okay, there's ground there, and then fight my active resistance of my body like, no, you're gonna fall if you go through that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I went with Lucy, and we both gasped when we were at the first moment when we touched the orb that showed us the Earth from space's view, from the
yeah,
cameras that they had. And I
yeah.
think the more I truly believe the more we can bring that to life for more people, the more they will have the experiences you're mentioning, and
Yep.
they'll
But
feel that connection.
we I agree with you. And the thing is, our country is so big. There's 27 million people in it. I was just in Mumbai. There was 22 million people in the city. We have 27 million people in a country, right? And so when we drove 3 days to run a camp at Lightning Ridge, we have VR headsets. And so we ran a night for all the aunties, the grandmas, the mums, the sisters. We ran a night for women. Um, and we put them on VR headsets, but we just put them on the training thing because if they've never done it before, they're lost. And it can be not a happy experience because they feel like they're stupid because they're not getting how to do things. So we worked really early on. People need to learn how to use the things before you throw them in the deep end of putting them
Yeah.
on the space station, right? So we also encourage them to buy lots of food and drink. So you can imagine we put them on the VR headsets. They'd never seen one before. They'd heard about it from school because their kids might have tried it, but the parents have
Sure.
never had a go. So we're missing that whole generation of people who are
Absolutely.
the influences of subject choice,
Yeah.
and that whole generation of people are missed out because the kids have a go at school, but they don't have a go. So they just hear
Right.
the kids talk about it, right? So
Yeah.
here we are. We put them on the VR headsets, and there's a part where they have to dance with robots. And you're watching them dance, but you
You
can't
can't see what they're
hear.
saying.
Yeah, but I know because we've seen it so many times what they're
Right.
doing. It's like, and then they
Yeah.
can then they work out they can hold the robot's hands and spin around. So they spin around in the room and then they let go and then you hear all this laughter because the robot flies off and then comes back again, right? So it's really funny. But these people have never experienced VR before. So you put them in a non-threatening thing like that and they're laughing. They're going, I need one of these for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then so to give them that experience. And then you can say, there's whole careers built around that
Yeah.
technology. And they go, really? Because the kids are experiencing the tech,
Right.
but the people who are influencing them aren't.
Yeah. That's a great
And
point.
that's where the foundation comes in,
Hmm.
big, making life-changing things for everyone. This is where One Giant Leap comes in because we actually do we're the only people who take an adult group to space camp if we can get enough people. Because when the kid comes home and says, I want to get a job building VR programs, they have no idea what the kid's talking about.
Right.
So it's okay to influence the kids, but then we need the parents and the rest of the family to understand that things have changed and this is how things have progressed. And you move out of the cities, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So our work in regional and remote areas is really critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also a reminder that at any age you can pivot, you can have a whole new career. I mean, today, 2025, there are careers that did not exist 5 years ago. There are whole sectors, right? AI
I
alone in just 2025 is off the charts with where it's taking things, right? With medicine and
yeah,
with advancement and everything.
yeah. It's just hilarious. We were in Broken Hill. That took 3 days to drive there and whatever. That's a whole nother story. But there was a man, Barry, and we ran an adult night. Barry turned up 3 hours before the event. He was so scared he'd miss out because he thought the whole town would want to go and he wouldn't get a ticket, even though he had registered. He's 95
Wow. I love
with a
that.
walking stick. And we got him and he did our program. It was hilarious. he put VR headset on. He thought it was the best thing ever. So can you imagine? He's 95 and we've got him trained up and he's now climbing through the space station and doing a spacewalk, sitting
That's
in
so
a chair
cool.
with his walking stick beside him. He just absolutely adored it. He was 95.
I love that.
So
I love that so much.
it was just brilliant. I've got some great pictures of Barry. And he was really freaking out that he was going to miss out, that there would be too many people and that he wouldn't be able to come and that he would be rejected because, he misses out or whatever. He was so cool. And we meet people like that all the time. And so, how do we keep them engaged? He's 95. He's not in a nursing home. His wife's died. How how do we get Barry engaged? We go, Barry. Well, there's these VR headsets. Next time we're in town, do you want to come as help us put them on people's heads? Sure, and says Barry. You know, I'd love to go back and get Barry to come and hang out. I couldn't care less if Barry just sat in a chair and talked to people as they came in and said, "Welcome to the whatever." But Barry needs engagement. We're losing these people because why? There's nothing for them to do,
Yeah.
you know? There's nothing for them to do. And then they just shrivel up and die in a corner. And
Mm,
it's sad.
it's
So
very
we
sad.
find these people and try and get them engaged as much as we can. So
It's,
Barry was a classic. Barry
I
broke a
love
new.
that.
So,
Yeah.
he's just, I'll send you the pictures actually. It was
Please
very
do.
funny.
Please do. That sounds incredible.
Because I had a 20-year-old putting VR headsets on a 95-year-old.
That's amazing. And I
Yeah.
think the interactions like that as well are crucial because Australia probably does it a bit better than places like the US, but we have this huge disconnect between the young generation and elders. And it's like once people are over the age of, 55, we just kind of discount them and they're like, oh, okay, you don't know anything, go over there, and I'm going to go run fast in my lane. And there's so much wisdom to be had and new experiences. And like how incredible for someone who's 95 to experience. I mean, I was amazed when I was probably 27 at the time. I don't even know. And the technology is so much better now. But it was, I was doing paint in 3D and I was like, oh, this is like Microsoft Paint, and Windows 95, but in 3D. And like I started to walk forward and the headset was like still connected to something. It was before they were wireless. I
Yeah.
got kind of yanked back and it was
Like,
quite
no,
comical, but it's just, I mean, the ability to be able to improve connection and provide those new experiences. We often talk about like what's the first thing that inspired you in space? And it doesn't have to be when you were a child. It can be when you were 95. It can be when, you're 45 or
you
what
know,
have you.
VR headsets and that whole experience. I have a relative who's got cerebral palsy,
Mm,
and we put a VR headset on her. We put her in a recliner rocker,
mm,
and we put her on Mount Everest. And I'll never ever forget, right? I'll never forget this. She said she was in the recliner rocker, and she went, "My legs," because the thing that holds her back are her legs. And now she's traveling around, and her legs are not her barrier anymore. She
mm.
had the freedom to move without struggling to put one leg after another.
Wow, I have goosebumps.
And she said, "My legs," that's all she said. And we all knew what she meant. And there wasn't a dry eye,
Yeah.
right? And she said, "I've always wanted to go to Paris." I said, "Well, let's see if we can find a program to travel in Paris. And then let's look at using that program to see where you can go and where you can't go with your wheelchair, and then plan a trip to Paris by using the VR headsets programs, right? And then that way you could actually walk the streets and work out whether you can get your wheelchair in there and whatever, you know. And it gives them the freedom, especially these people, gives them the freedom. And I talked to Greg Chamitoff, who's a former NASA astronaut, and he said he really misses being on the space station with the freedom to fly.
Hmm.
He
It's like those
craves
videos you
that
see astronauts, they're
feeling.
talking and they drop something because they're used to
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just
Oh,
floating
yeah,
next to
because
them,
yeah, yeah, and because I said to him like, because he said it's that freedom to just go from here to here, but you just fly.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it, right? And I said to him, you're probably invited to the White House for dinner. Do they give you crystal glasses to drink out of, or do they give you a plastic tumbler? Because you're just going to put the glass and just like that. He goes, no, it's the opposite. He said, you look over and there's a salt shake, and you go, I couldn't be bothered putting the salt on my food because gravity is totally different to what I thought his answer would be. So he says, no, you just don't bother picking up the salt shaker because it's too heavy. So yeah, so he's told me that's the thing he misses, is that freedom to just fly. And we can do that in VR and
Absolutely.
augmented reality, right?
Yeah. And that's what's so exciting about the future of humanity and how I really see that as the community comes together and we create experiences like this at whether it's a one space event or a Yuri's night party or an IAC conference or a cruise ship. There's so many ways that we can bring people together and connect back to the humanity and give them experiences that otherwise would not be possible. And how do you think the VR experiences, the community integration into space, as space becomes more accessible, that's going to shape our like humanity's future relationship with space?
Well, you just look at it like we're talking across the world
Right.
seamlessly, right? So imagine if you put a headset on and you're on Earth and they're somewhere else and you got a bit of lag, but they're trying to fix something that you're an expert in, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and
Or
and all
or
they
it'll
do
be
is
that you
call
and
you.
I are just sitting on the couch next to each other, able to hang out, and it feels like we're there rather than,
Yeah, yeah. And
because
I mean, David Attenborough's movies have been put into VR, so you can sit in your lounge room with a whale going over your shoulder, and
oh my gosh.
everyone can be watching a
What? There's a
totally
program
different
for
movie.
that? You have just
Yeah,
changed
there
the world.
is.
I need
It's
to go find that right
incredible.
now.
It's incredible. Like you have humpback whales coming over your shoulder and you're under the water, but you're not wet. Like it's
Oh
really
my
cool. So
goodness.
imagine people who are scared about going doing scuba. Imagine people who
Yeah.
can't get there. I have a friend who is landlocked. He can't fly anywhere. He's never going to experience that feeling of getting in a plane and going to a different country. So you can do that with VR
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah. It,
free
it just
him.
opens up the access to your world in such a different way.
So have you ever felt hemmed in?
Hmm.
Hemmed in? Imagine if you're hemmed in and you can't get out.
Yeah.
Like the girl with cerebral palsy, she's hemmed in her body. My
Yes.
friend who can never fly anywhere. Imagine the frustration and the anger and the hurt and the pain and the feeling so bad. Some people do themselves in over that. But
Yeah.
imagine if we can unlock that.
Mm.
Imagine if we can unlock that frustration.
Yeah.
Happiness comes, right? Because remember what we were talking about before. As long as you're happy, happy brings a whole lot of things that when you think you're happy and then you work out when you truly are happy, it's two
Yeah.
totally different things. And you know what
Absolutely.
I'm talking about because I can tell by the smile on your face. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? So, how do we do that for kids who've got no ability to change where they are, no resources to get them out of a situation that they're in right now? That's when my phone rings at 1 o'clock in the morning and I go, I'm here. When you stop crying and I can understand you, I'm still here. Because our workforce of the future is highly complicated,
Yeah.
highly complicated. We're working with human beings. And we can talk about doing STEM and we can do all of that stuff. That's straightforward. But what not is not straightforward is the human beings that we're working with. It's complicated. And we talked about the book, The Anxious Generation, right? And we've talked about how complicated life is now.
Mm. Yeah.
How do we
The
support
decision
them?
fatigue, the uncertainty, just the overload of information. We're not designed to be able to handle all of that. And
And you
while,
lose your
one of
job
the pros
today, what
we're
happens?
on other parts of the world talking, but at the same
Yeah,
time, my system and your system is not designed to know about all of the stress and worldly things that are happening outside of a certain, what small radius and 150 to 200 group of people in your
It,
nearby neighborhood, right?
we talk about it takes a village,
Yeah,
right? It takes a village, but that's an old saying because people used to stay in the village.
right,
The world is the village. You can't say I live in a village and think it's just got this tiny little border and then we hippity hop and we go to the next village.
right.
Look at the earth, it's one big place. We can't. So that old saying of it takes a village, it takes an earth.
I love that. It takes an earth.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Because taking a village is too small. That comes from when people all lived in the one town,
right.
but we don't. My daughter lives in Dubai, right? I have a
Just a
granddaughter
tiny
who
village.
lives in, yeah, but
Dubai
the
is just
thing
a
is,
little
we
village.
talk about it takes a village, but it takes a village of people from Tasmania, Queensland, Sydney, Dubai, Macedonia to bring up the granddaughter. So it
Yeah,
takes a village, but the village is the world.
yeah,
So we have to take that responsibility on and go, it takes the world to build the world village.
mm. And that's what One Space is, and that's what the
Yeah.
great work behind One Giant Leap Australia and the space camps that you're doing for both children and adults, I think is beautiful. Where can people learn a little bit more about all the great initiatives that you're working on?
Well, they can go to our website. They can go to onegiantleapaustralia.com, and they can go to One Giant Leap Australia Foundation. I'm sure that they'll find it. It's not difficult. We have a YouTube channel. We have a podcast called One Giant Leap Radio. They can reach out to me at any time. You find me on LinkedIn, Jackie Carpenter. There's only kind of not many Jackie Carpenters on the planet. I think there's only one in doing the space stuff that I'm doing. But you know, it seems insurmountable, but it's not when we're all together.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that, you know, being in a vacuum is not going to help anyone. And when we reach out and we call out for help and we the proverbial village of the world and we really amplify the voice and we can achieve more together and it's just a reminder that we're not alone. So thank you so much for all the great work that you're doing.
I know. Look, Sarah, it's what gets me out of bed every day. That's for sure. People say to me, like, haven't you given up yet? It's like, nah. If I
Yeah,
give up, then what? Then what do the
exactly.
kids have? You know, they don't have the squeaky wheel banging on about stuff because until they get a voice, I'll keep talking, you know, and
That's
we
amazing.
have to.
Absolutely.
Um, some of the kids we work with, I'm not sure that you would handle their lives. I know that I look at it and think, how do you get out of bed every day and you're 11,
Yeah.
you know? And I look at that and I think if they get up out of bed every day, so should I, you know. Um, and it's quite shocking. Um, I have a great friend who gets up every day, freshly ironed shirt, tie, trousers, goes to work every day looking like that, but lives in 2 rooms with his family of 3 children and a wife, and they live in 2 rooms.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but hats off to them, and they're my inspiration because if they can do it, I should do it too.
Mm. Yeah.
Because the reality is, I have a roof over my head and I have food in the fridge.
Yeah.
What more? What more do you need? Just a feeling of safety. And if we can provide that through the programs that we do, trust and a feeling of safety, and bringing confidence to our kids. And I mean, our kids as global kids.
Yeah.
That's what everyone should be doing, right? It's just that the kids that we work with have a total fascination with the space sector. Uh, and like I said, the nerd herd and the tribe.
Yes.
So,
Well, thank
so
you
let's all
for
make it
bringing
happen.
us into your nerd herd and tribe so that we can grow it bigger together. It's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. It's all cool. So anyway, I suppose I better get ready for my